Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Nscaler454 here. In today's video, we're going to install an incline kit as well as super elevation to a curved track, so stay tuned. So according to our layout plans, we are going to install this incline loop right here, and we are going to be using Woodland Scenics Incline Decline Kit, which, as you can see, this is a 3% kit right here, but the kit we're actually going to be using is 2%. In fact, I don't know if I'll ever be using a 3%, so maybe in the future I can do some sort of giveaway if the channel gets big enough, so be sure to subscribe. So our incline is going to loop all the way around, through the back, and tie into this track right here, which is at a 1/2 inch elevation, which makes this our starting point. And we're going to work backwards from here. Now this section, I am not going to secure down just yet because that is where we're going to install a bridge. And because I'm not 100% sure exactly where that's going to go, I'm not going to glue this down just yet. Obviously, there's a section of this that's going to have to be removed. So we'll just set this in place for now and work backwards from there. Now, speaking of glue, we are going to be using LePage PL300 foam board adhesive. Obviously, we're going foam to foam. And I do highly recommend you pick up some of these Woodland Scenics foam nails. They're super handy, and that's going to help us keep our shape in position when we secure this down. Now, I have already dry fitted the incline set, and you can see I've drawn a line for the radius of where the foam is supposed to be. So gluing this down should be pretty simple. But the first thing I need to do is right here there's a bit of a lip right there. So I'm just going to sand that down to make sure that's nice and flush, and then we can start gluing this down. So I finished installing the incline set, and I have to say this product is really easy to install, and I highly recommend it. So now I'm about ready to start laying the cork down, and I want it to be center of this foam. This is 2.5 inches wide, so I made a marking that's 1.25 inch to the center, but I did offset that a little bit from here and a little bit here. That'll open up the radius just a little bit, but also give me a nice transition into the curve. Now right here, there is a little bit of a lip because, I guess it's a little thicker, whatever. But I'm going to have to use some adhesive to try to fill this in right to there to make sure the track is as flat as possible. So I have the cork glued down and some track temporarily in place, but now I want to set up a Superelevation around this curve where the outer rail is slightly elevated versus the inner rail. And to attain that camber, I'm going to use some green painter's tape. I'll cut it into strips and place it underneath the outer rail ties. So I've laid my painter's tape on a sheet of glass. That'll allow me to pull the tape up when needed. I've made my strips 5 millimeters wide. You just need to make them narrow enough that you can bend them around a curve. And you don't need to mark them with a pen or anything. You can just take a ruler and a sharp utility knife and go down and make your cuts like so. To get a nice transition, I'm going to start a new layer of tape every 3 inches, which is about 40 feet in 1:1 scale. And you can see I've put markings where to start each layer. Now, one big question about Superelevation is how thick of a shim do you actually put on here? Well, I did some reading online, and apparently, at least in the United States, the outer rail can be a maximum of 6 inches taller than the inner rail. In an N scale, that's about 1/32 of an inch, or 31 thou, as that equals about 5 inches in 1:1 scale. So for me, I've measured out this tape at about 4.5 thou per layer. 6 layers gives me about 27 thou, which is about 4.3 inches in 1:1 scale. So I'm going to do 5 or 6 layers maximum. We have an incline set installed. We have our Superelevation built into our curve. And as you can see, I have track glued down and drying as we speak. And I just use Elmer's Glue All to glue the track down. I feel like it's working pretty good. And I use a whole bunch of push pins, which dollar store for literally $1. That is super useful. One thing that I should say is make sure you are ready to glue your track down if you're using this painter's tape as shimming, because that will lift up eventually over time. So just be prepared. I do wish my layout was a little bit wider. Right now it's 3 feet, but if it was a little bit wider, I could run an 18-inch radius. Right now it's about 16.5, but I do have to have this little 15-inch chunk in here because where the curve tracks join, they want to straighten out. And it was creating like a V kink, and so I put this 15-inch track set in there just to hold it in place, which I feel like it's going to be a little bit smoother versus like a kink. As for the Superelevation, I only went with 5 layers of the painter's tape versus 6. I'd rather be a little low than too high. I'm sure it's going to be nearly impossible for you guys to see what's going on, but there is a bit of a lean, which is pretty cool. But overall, it wasn't too hard to install. I guess getting the curve of the track was the hardest part. The rest of it was pretty easy. And now I just have to tie it in to the upper level, which I'm sure will present its own challenges. I will put some links in the description if you guys want to buy any of this kind of products through Amazon. It actually kind of helps. But if you guys like this video, hit the thumbs up, subscribe for more videos, and thanks for watching.